exactly what I'm talking about.
What's up, everybody? It is March the 5th, 2018, and I'm coming to you live. This is the Black and Intellectual live stream. I will be posting this video later on my blog at www.blackandintellectual.com. Make sure you go to my blog and check out some of my latest writings. I'm in the process of writing an article now that will be going up sometime within the next couple days. Be on the lookout for that as well. And today I want to talk about a couple stories. One story I just came across literally a couple hours ago when I was on Twitter, and I saw this story about. Let me pull it up. Actually, it is from Buzzfeed. Secret NYPD files. Officers can lie and brutally beat people and still keep their jobs. Something that is not unknown to anyone that follows these types of stories, but this story in particular, I definitely knew I was going to have to cover because I was originally only going to do one story. And that's the story about what's going on in South Africa right now and how their parliament has voted to take back or reclaim land that was stolen from them by the white colonizers a long time ago. I was only going to talk about that, but I saw this trending on Twitter very briefly. And number one, when you follow this stuff long enough, you know how certain things are going to play out. So I knew when I saw it in the top 10 on Twitter, number one, I knew it wasn't going to stay in the top 10 for very long. I knew that. And then number two, I knew that a lot of people aren't going to talk about this because unfortunately, when it comes to stories like this about state violence, about police corruption, police brutality, anything in this sort of realm, mass incarceration, anything in this sort of topic of discussion, people get very funny. People get very funny, they get very flaky. You get people who don't want to cover stories like this. You get people who want to put their head in the sand. So I knew I was going to have to cover this. And this is a long article. But the link to the article is in the description box for the YouTube video of this stream. So whether you're listening to this live, whether you are listening to the replay of this, definitely read the article. I'm not going to read every little sentence in the article. I'm going to skip around a little bit, but I'm going to hit the most important topics. I'm going to hit the most important paragraphs in the article. Okay, because stuff like this needs to be repeated over and over and over again, because unfortunately a lot of people hide this stuff. This stuff gets swept under the rug. People don't want to talk about some of the things that's going on in this country when it comes to the state and how the state conducts itself with regards to the people of this country. So let's get started. Let me stop, leading up to the article, and let me actually start reading the article itself. Because this stream might go on for over an hour, because I have a lot I want to get off my chest. So, first, hold on, before I get started, let me do what I usually do and go ahead and hold on one second. Let me pin this to my profile. Okay, let me retweet it. All right, and it is on Facebook as well. I started a new group. I started a Facebook group that I want everybody to join. The name of the Facebook group is Independent Black Media Think Tank. Independent Black Media Think Tank. No more colonizer lies. I started this group because I need a group to build up a community based around breaking down some of the lies that's in the media, in the corporate media. And the whole reason for why I live stream, and the whole reason I have Black and Intellectual to begin with, is because of that. It's because of media lies. That's honestly the original reason why I started the blog in the first place. So the Facebook group pretty much it's just a way for me, and also people within the group who are in the group now or in the group in the future, to share stories and to share ideas, which is why I called it a think tank, just to share stories and share ideas about some of the things that's going on in the Black community in the United States and abroad. So let's begin. Let us get started, or let me get started. So I gave you guys the title already, Buzzfeed News, and the subheadline reads, internal NYPD files show that hundreds of officers who committed the most serious offenses, the most serious offenses, from lying to grand juries to physically attacking innocent people, got to keep their jobs, their pensions, and their tremendous power over New Yorkers' lives. So here's how the article begins. Secret files obtained by Buzzfeed News reveal that from 2011 to 2015, at least 319 New York Police Department employees who committed offenses serious enough to merit firing were allowed to keep their jobs. Many of the officers lied, cheated, stole, or assaulted New York City residents. At least 50 employees lied on official reports, under oath, or during an internal affairs investigation. 38 were found guilty by a police tribunal of excessive force, getting into a fight, or firing their gun unnecessarily. 57 were guilty of driving under the influence. 71 were guilty of ticket fixing. One officer, Jared Dill, threatened to kill someone. Okay, so these aren't small offenses. Okay, another, Robertson Tunis, sexually harassed and inappropriately touched a fellow officer. What about blue on blue crime? That's not in the article, that's me saying that. Some were guilty of lesser offenses, like mouthing off to a supervisor. So continuing, At least 24 of these employees worked in schools. Andrew Bailey was found guilty of touching a female student on the thigh and kissing her on the cheek while she was sitting in her car. What? In a school parking lot while he was supposed to be on duty, Lester Robinson kissed a woman, removed his shirt, and began to remove his pants. And Juan Garcia, while off duty, illegally sold prescription medication to an undercover officer. Who are these people that are being employed by the New York's by the NYPD? Who are these people? I would like to know this. Hold on, let me make sure my stream is okay, so everything looks good. Yeah, so let me continue. In every instance, the police commissioner, who has final authority in disciplinary decisions, assigned these officers to, quote, dismissal probation. You're going to hear that term a lot in this article. Okay, dismissal probation. That's their little get out of jail free card. And how the NYPD gets around holding their officers accountable. A penalty with few practical consequences. The officer continues to do their job at their usual salary, so they're not really punished. This is a slap on the wrist. They may get less overtime, whoop-de-doo, again, that's me saying that, and won't be promoted during that period. During that period, they won't get promoted, which usually lasts a year. When the year is over, so is the probation. So it means absolutely nothing. So yeah, they don't get overtime and they don't get promoted for a year. That means absolutely nothing. That means absolutely nothing. Today, many continue to patrol the streets, arrest people, put them in jail, and testify in criminal prosecutions. Let me repeat that. That needs to be repeated. Based on what I've already said in the article. If you are listening to this, like the video, retweet the video. If you're on Facebook, share the video on Facebook. Let this be known, because I read these articles because I know most people aren't going to read these articles. Okay, most people don't even share these articles. You will see stuff on Facebook and Twitter, complete and total nonsense, I'm just calling it what it is, that has thousands of likes, thousands of retweets. People love sharing nonsense, unfortunately. That's just the way social media is. But when it comes to stories like this, and I said this on Twitter, this should be the top news story on all of the cable shows. CNN, MSNBC. We know Fox News is not going to cover this. But we know CNN and MSNBC won't cover it either. Okay, because the corporate media, unfortunately, going back to why I started the Facebook group and the name of the Facebook group, the corporate media, unfortunately, is in on the cover-up. That's clear as day. If there's nothing else you understand about state violence and police corruption and all of these, because I've read too many of these stories to know how this shit goes. Okay, they're in on the cover-up, so they'll be talking. I don't have the news on right now. I guarantee you, if I turned on CNN, if I turned on MSNBC right now, right this second, I would put money that they're talking about Russia. I will put money on it. Russia is the only thing they know how to talk about right now. But actual stories like this, mum's the word. You know it and I know it. Okay, this is why we need our black media. This is why we need black media. This is why support black media, not just me, but other black people as well. Anybody who is covering stories on YouTube, Twitter, anybody who is covering stories that you don't hear people talk about a lot. There's a reason you have major stories major whistleblower stories, because that's what this is. This is a whistleblower who is exposed. I'm gonna get into that in a second. I'm ranting right now. I'm gonna get to that when I read the rest of the article to you guys. But a whistleblower revealed this story. A whistleblower came forward with this information and gave this information to Buzzfeed. Okay, and stories like this are very important, but they don't get talked about enough, even on the left, unfortunately. And I'm gonna get to left people on the left in general in a second. But let me get off my soapbox and let me continue. Okay. Today, many continue to patrol the streets. I'm repeating that sentence. Arrest people, put them in jail, and testify in criminal prosecutions. But the people they arrest have little way to find out about the officer's record. By design. This is why when you hear people say the system isn't broken, this is the way the system was built to work, this is what people mean when they say that stuff. Because in many ways it's both. The system is both broken and it was set up to do this. It's broken because on paper the system isn't supposed to work this way. Okay, but it's not broken and it was set up to do this like they say, because behind closed doors they have all of these machinations in place to cover up their crimes. Okay, so continuing, they are forced to make life-changing decisions, such as whether to fight their charges in court or take a guilty plea, without knowing, for example, if the officer who arrested them is a convicted liar, information that a jury might find directly relevant. And I agree. BuzzFeed News reporting is based on hundreds of pages of internal police files that, like all disciplinary records, the police department keeps secret, citing a controversial state law on, quote, personal records. So they keep this stuff secret, y'all. That's why you don't hear about it. And you also don't hear about it because when whistleblowers come forward, when the good cops come forward, nobody says anything. People always wonder, where are the good cops at? No, they're there. And I'm not one of these people that think all cops are bad. I want to put that out there to you. I don't think that. Okay, but I do understand the reality of the situation. Okay, you don't just have a bad cop problem. It's not just the bad, corrupt cops. Okay, it's the police commissioners, it's the police unions, it's the prosecutors, it's the media, it's the judges, it's a bunch of people. It's not just the cops, it's not just the corrupt cops. But let me continue. And here's getting to what I was saying a second ago. The files were provided by a source who requested anonymity. They were subsequently verified through more than 100 calls to NYPD employees, visits to officers' homes, interviews with prosecutors and defense lawyers, and a review of thousands of pages of court records. So BuzzFeed really went out of their way to prove this. Like, this wasn't just something BuzzFeed saw and just ran with the story and was like, yeah, let's just print this without actually verifying what the heck we've been given. Like, no, they went through, they dotted their I's and they crossed their T's. So I commend them for this. And before I continue, I want to give a shout out to the authors. Okay, Kendall Taggart, a BuzzFeed News reporter, and Mike Hayes, another BuzzFeed News reporter. I want to give props where props are due. So continuing, over the coming months, BuzzFeed News plans to publish a database with information about the NYPD officers and civilian employees who have received dismissal probation. The probation files do not include all officers who received dismissal probation during the years in question. According to the NYPD, of the more than 50,000 people who work for the department, at least 777 officers and an untold number of other employees received a penalty during the 5 years in question. During the same period, 463 officers were forced to leave or resigned while a disciplinary charge was pending. And let me reiterate something. Okay, going back to the first paragraph of this article. This only covers the years from 2011 to 2015. But this problem is so huge, we all know it's been going on for decades. So keep that in mind. This is only 2011 to 2015. But the probation files are by far the most thorough accounting of this practice to date. They pull back the curtain on one of the NYPD's most fiercely guarded secrets, providing the most extensive record available of which officers, despite committing serious misconduct, continue to wield tremendous power over New Yorkers' lives. New York is one of only 3 states, along with Delaware and California, that has a law specifically shielding police misconduct records from the public, according to a study conducted by WNYC in 2015. So New York, Delaware, and California actually have laws protecting records of police misconduct from being seen from or being shown to the public. That's incredible. Even though it's only 3, the problem could be much worse than that. But we even know from previous reporting that there are states around the country, even more states around the country, that block body cam footage from being released to the public. I think North Carolina, where I'm at, North Carolina has some sort of weird, funny law like that. So, they go out of their way to hide certain problematic truths. Okay, but that's why I'm here. That's why I have to have black and intellectual. I don't want to have black and intellectual, but unfortunately, I have to have black and intellectual. I have to have that Facebook group. Because the people we put into power and the people we trust with authority don't do their jobs properly. If they did their jobs properly, I wouldn't need black and intellectual. So let me continue. In addition to letting some officers off the hook, sources told Buzzfeed News that dismissal probation, there's that term again, is also used to punish other officers arbitrarily for reporting misconduct or just for getting on their supervisor's bad side. Can you believe that? So when people say things like, where are all the good cops at? Where are all the good cops? Why don't we see any of the good cops? This is why. This is why. Let's just not be willingly foolish. Okay, this is why you don't see certain things, and this is why cops don't come forward, because they get shut down. The police, they want to make you think, they want to make you believe that if a good cop came forward, that they would take their concerns and they would take their what they're saying seriously, when in reality that's not the case. The Intercept ran a story, I want to say late 2016. I want to say it was late 2016, where they were talking about, it was a 4-part story. I forgot the name of the story. I probably shouldn't have brought it up if I don't have the article right in front of me. But the Intercept ran a very similar story where you had some cops in Chicago that were exposing crazy systemic abuses in Chicago. And we all know the Chicago Police Department is one of the most corrupt police departments in the country. Everybody knows that. Okay, but they got attacked. And then you have that story in Baltimore. I'm glad I thought about this because it ties in. You had the story in Baltimore of the police officer who was going to spill the beans on his fellow officer. And guess what happened to him? Guess what happened to him? He was found dead in his car. Supposedly, he shot himself in the head with his gun. Nobody actually believes that, though. Nobody believes that. Everybody knows that brother was killed. So you had an example of a good cop in Baltimore who was killed before he was about to go on trial and testify against corrupt Baltimore cops. You have this story right here with Buzzfeed News talking about how cops are put on dismissal probation when they report misconduct. You have the report from The Intercept, the four-part report from The Intercept from 2016, where cops were being threatened with similar activity and similar retribution. This goes on all over the country. Let's stop playing stupid about this. Nobody within law enforcement, I'm talking about the higher-ups, they don't want whistleblowers within law enforcement. They talk about that blue shield for a reason. The blue shield of silence. Let me continue. This is a quote. If 10 cops did the same thing, if 10 cops did the same exact thing that was bad, the outcome is different every time. If you've complained, forget about it. Said Diane Davis, a former internal affairs investigator who later sued the department for racial discrimination. Bill Bratton and Ray Kelly, the NYPD commissioners who ran the department during the years covered by the probation files, both declined to speak with Buzzfeed News. The current commissioner, James O'Neill, took over in 2016. Of course they declined. Of course, because this was going on their watch. They knew about this. They knew about this, and they were okay with it. And let me tell you who else knows about it. Your favorite New York neoliberal mayor, Bill de Blasio. You don't think Bill de Blasio knows about this? Going to Chicago. You don't think Rahm Emanuel knows about what's going on in Chicago? I'm just gonna leave that out in the ether, just for people to assume the obvious. BuzzFeed News attempted to reach every NYPD employee named in this story with phone calls and letters to their homes. Some employees could no longer be located, so we also sent a list of names to both their unions and the NYPD itself, with the request that those organizations notify the officers of the opportunity to comment. Most officers did not respond. Surprise, surprise, not surprised. Surprise, surprise, not surprised. This is so treacherous. This is so treacherous. This is let me not say that. I was about to say something. I'm not even gonna go there. Let me just continue with the article. Speaking for the NYPD, Kevin Richardson, the deputy commissioner of the department advocate's office, which determines which officers to charge and prosecute at the NYPD's internal disciplinary trials, said the law prevented him from commenting on specific officers' cases. But in general, he said dismissal probation, there's that term again, serves a valuable purpose. I'm sure it does. Quote, The department is not interested in terminating officers that don't need to be terminated. Listen to this guy. We're interested in keeping employees and making our employees obey the rules and do the right thing, end quote, he told BuzzFeed News. But then continuing, he said, but where there are failings, we realize this person should be separated from the department. This police commissioner and the prior police commissioner have shown a willingness to do that. Yeah, so they just need to be separated. That's all that needs to happen. They just need to be separated, and they need their little space to get their story straight. And so while the case is going through the motions, and whether or not this case makes it into the news, which most of the time these cases don't, but just in case this case does go viral and the story does go viral and get into the news, you know, let's separate them from what's going on until the story blows over. And then after the story blows over and after they've been separated and they've been sitting on their ass collecting their paycheck and still getting all of their little goodies, okay, then we'll bring them back into the fold when nobody's paying attention. Get the heck out of here. That's their way of disciplining their officers, if you want to call it that. Richardson added that since he joined the department in 2014, he has worked to make the process fairer and reassess the penalties given to officers guilty of misconduct. The department declined to offer any examples of penalties that have changed or any data that would support his claims. Okay, asked about the misconduct of his members, Gregory Floyd, the president of the union representing school safety agents, said, quote, that's something that we don't condone, end quote. Al O'Leary, a spokesperson for the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, here these guys who antagonize the public after a police shooting, that Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, the largest police union representing NYPD officers, had a different message. Check this out. Quote, we're not going to talk to you about anything negative as far as our officers are concerned. That's what the union said. We're not going to talk to you about anything negative as far as any of our officers. Just so you know where they stand. Former NYPD Detective Sergeant Joseph Giacalone, who spent 2 years of his 2-decade-plus career in internal affairs, said, quote, dismissal probation, there's that term again, is supposed to be used for somebody who screwed up something big, but it wasn't intentional. They made an honest mistake. So this is what they're saying. This is important context. This dismissal probation thing that they always use was meant to be just like for something where, cops screwed something up. It wasn't that serious. It wasn't that big of a deal. And it wasn't intentional. Not something like some of the examples I read at the beginning of the article. Things that are definitely intentional. But, they clearly abuse this whole dismissal probation thing. But any officer who is caught committing an egregious offense, such as lying or stealing department property, should be fired, Giacalone said. He said, quote, they have broken the trust of the oath that they took, end quote. I would agree. I want to read this example to you of this one particular police officer. Then I'll probably end this. I'll give my little ending statements about the story itself. Because like I said, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's a long article. And you guys know how I like to add my 2 cents after every paragraph. So I don't want to talk about this for 2 hours and be too long-winded. But definitely go to Buzzfeed News and read the whole article. You should read the entire article. Okay, even if it confirms what you've already felt. Like, stuff like this needs to be known. It needs to be shared. Okay, instead of some of the other stuff that gets shared all the time. Continuing, during his first 6 years on the force, Officer Raymond Marrero was accused of viciously beating one person, falsely arresting another, assaulting a third, and fabricating evidence against the fourth. This guy was just doing all kinds of illegal activity. In February of 2008, Marrero, an officer in the 52nd Precinct in the Bronx with a stocky build and a shaved head, arrested a woman who videotaped him allegedly roughing up her boyfriend. Officers seized her phone, which was never returned. She was charged with obstructing government administration, disorderly conduct, and harassment, but acquitted on all counts. Now, let me stop. Who does that sound like to you guys? Who does that sound like to you guys? For people who I know who stay abreast of stuff like this and pay attention to stuff like this, that's exactly what happened to the guy who, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, but the man who filmed Eric Garner's murder. Y'all remember how they came after him for filming Eric Garner's murder? Y'all remember that? Is he still in prison right now? I don't know, because I haven't kept up with his story, and I'm not gonna pull it up now because I'm live. I don't want to go off on another tangent. But y'all, this goes on all the time. We constantly see this. Okay, let me continue. But no, let me reread that sentence. She was charged with obstructing government administration, disorderly conduct, and harassment. But luckily, she was acquitted. So she was acquitted. But that other guy, the guy who filmed Eric Garner's murder, he wasn't acquitted. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he went to jail. She sued the city, paid her $25,000 without admitting any wrongdoing. So they paid her $25,000 but didn't admit to anything. You don't pay somebody $25,000 and you didn't do anything wrong. Okay, it's like when they pay off families after they kill members of certain families. Okay, and then they have to pay the families off. Okay, and but they try to sit back and act like they didn't do anything wrong. Okay, whatever. You don't pay people off where you were in the right. You wouldn't have to pay people off if that were the case. The disciplinary documents Buzzfeed News obtained include no record that Marrero faced any punishment. A few months later, in April, Marrero got into another altercation with a man while issuing him a parking ticket in front of a Toyota dealership in the Bronx. A judge found Marrero's explanation of why he arrested the man, who later claimed he was thrown to the ground and punched repeatedly to the head, or in the head, to be incredible. So a judge found Marrero's explanation incredible, quote unquote. All charges against the man were dropped, and the city settled his lawsuit for $500,000, without admitting wrongdoing. So yeah, here's $500,000, here's $500,000. We didn't do anything wrong though. These people are the worst. These people are the absolute worst. The disciplinary documents BuzzFeed News obtained include no record that Marrero faced any punishment. Once again, no punishment. Just assaulting people left and right. Money being tricked off. To people who are assaulted. But they should get compensation for that. So I'm not trying to be offensive when I say that. But here they are just tricking off money to people that they should have never been assaulted in the first place. And they don't admit wrongdoing, but the people who did the insulting or did the assaulting never face any punishment, like this Marrero character. Then, in early 2009, a former police department volunteer named Louis DeLuca So check this out. A former police department volunteer. So this was somebody who was volunteering, trying to do some good work in the community. listen to what happens to DeLuca. He was confronted, or let me restart. A former police department volunteer named Louis DeLuca confronted a man who DeLuca found out had groped his brother's 17-year-old girlfriend. The man took off with his friends just as Marrero was pulling up. So DeLuca, was approaching this guy who groped his brother's girlfriend. I guess, maybe he was chasing after him or something like that. Here comes Marrero, this criminal, okay, who shouldn't be on the force. He says, DeLuca says, quote, "I was telling him there's some guys that groped a family member of mine," DeLuca said. "They're right around the corner." Marrero and his partner told DeLuca to shut up, DeLuca said. Incredulous, DeLuca called Marrero a cunt. Okay, so they're going back and forth calling each other names and stuff. The officers push him to the ground. This is a police department volunteer. The officers pushed him to the ground and arrested him, according to a lawsuit DeLuca later filed. Back at the precinct, as DeLuca was being taken out of the car, Marrero struck him with his police baton. So he's hitting the dude upside the head for no reason, opening up a gash on the top of his head. Another officer said there was so much blood they had to clean it up with a mop. He took 12 staples, it took 12 staples at the hospital to close the wound. In a deposition, DeLuca said Marrero told him, quote, "You can't disrespect us like that in the street." DeLuca received $398,000 in a settlement, of which Marrero was ordered to pay only $4,000. I gotta take a drink on that one. And I'm not talking about alcohol. I have some water. I had to like let that marinate for a second. A year after DeLuca's arrest, Marrero and his partner. Marrero is still on the force a year later. After all this stuff he's been caught up in, he's still on the force. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Okay, a year later, after DeLuca's arrest, Marrero and his partner held a handcuffed prisoner down while another officer stomped on the person's head. During an internal affairs investigation, Marrero falsely denied that any officer used physical force. So he just lied, said it didn't happen. All told, by 2014, the city had paid about $900,000 to settle accusations just against Officer Marrero. By 2014, the city paid out nearly $1 million just for Marrero's offenses, not including everybody else. Publicly, neither he nor the city admitted any wrongdoing. But in secret, after an investigation into DeLuca's arrest and the stomping incident a year later, Marrero pleaded guilty. He pleaded guilty. He admitted guilt to multiple department charges, including striking an individual with, quote, "no legitimate police purpose," end quote. And then, quote, "making unnecessary physical contact." And then, quote, "providing inaccurate, incomplete, misleading answers," end quote, to department investigators, according to the files Buzzfeed News obtained. Yet, the NYPD commissioner at the time, Ray Kelly, decided that there wasn't a reason to fire him. He admitted guilt, but there was no reason to fire him. Instead, he was put on dismissal probation. There's that term again, and he forfeited 45 days vacation. This is the salt in the wound right here. What I'm about to read is the salt in the wound. And I continue. Marrero remains on the force today, earning almost 120. I'm gonna stop. I'm trying to contain my righteous outrage. I'm trying to contain my anger. Marrero remains on the force today, earning almost $120,000 last year. He continues to patrol the streets, making dozens of arrests since he was found guilty by the department. Why is this not wall-to-wall coverage on CNN? Somebody said, I'm not doing it right now. Somebody needs to send this stream to CNN. Matter of fact, let me do that. I'ma stop this. Let me retweet this for a second. Give me a second, family. I have to do the job for the mainstream media because they don't want to do it. They don't want to cover stories like this, unfortunately. So let me see. At CNN breaking news, at MSNBC, at Rachel Maddow. She likes talking about Russia a lot, so she's probably not gonna bring this up. At Chris Hayes. Oh yeah. Send. Okay. They're not gonna cover it. Why is this not wall-to-wall coverage right now, family? Somebody please explain that to me. Somebody make that make sense to me. Yet and still the alt-right, the alt-light, and everybody in between tries to tell us we have no reason to protest. Oh yeah, I'm going in today. I have zero patience today. I have zero fucks to give today. And I haven't even gotten to the South Africa story yet. I'm almost an hour in and I'm still talking about this. Let me see. Let me read the last few paragraphs. Then I think I have to end this story. I can't keep talking about this. Marrero remains on the force today. I read that already. Buzzfeed News asked Marrero about his disciplinary history. Speaking by phone, he said that he appreciated the effort to reach out, but added, quote, "I really don't want to talk about it." Of course you don't. The Commission to Combat Police Corruption, an organization set up in 1995 to serve as an outside check on the department's disciplinary process, took a look at Marrero's case as part of its review of all disciplinary cases that year. The Commission's reports are anonymized, so it did not name Marrero explicitly. BuzzFeed News was able to identify him by matching details of a January 2009 arrest with the probation files and court documents from DeLuca's civil lawsuit. The commission determined that Marrero's actions suggested he, quote, lacked the temperament necessary to be a police officer. Instead of being placed on probation, it said he should have been fired. But the commission has no authority to reverse the NYPD's decisions. Informed by BuzzFeed News that the officer who beat him with a baton was still on the force, DeLuca who no longer volunteers for the department, I wonder why, was shocked. He said, quote, "You've got to be kidding me. I was 1,000% sure he was going to lose his job," end quote. DeLuca shook his head and added, quote, "I can't imagine since that time, how many more times he's done this to people." Y'all, I'm only like halfway through the article. That's how long this article is. I'm only halfway through the article. See, when you read this stuff, you gotta break it down. When you read this stuff, you can't just give like what I see too many people doing. I see way too many people doing this on the left. I don't count the right wing because they don't cover these stories properly anyway. And they're already thoroughly biased when it comes to stuff like this. All too often, I see people giving a very surface level interpretation of these types of stories. Sometimes when it comes to stories like this, you can't talk about it for 10 minutes. You can't talk about it for 5 minutes. You can't give a little footnote interpretation of, or footnote, reading of the story and think it's really gonna sink in with people. You got to get down into the nitty gritty. You got to go into detail. You got to really explain why this is problematic. You know what I'm saying? So let me that's that story. It's 11:50. I've been going on for like 50 minutes now, or just about 50 minutes. So I want to continue. Okay, let's continue. Hold on one second. Let me check to make sure, because I haven't been following the stream like that. Okay, so that looks good. That looks good. Everything looks smooth. So let's continue. So, South Africa last week voted to seize land. No. I'm reading a headline. And what I'm about to say is very important because this plays into what I say about the media in general. Especially when it comes to stories that deal with things that impact black people. You a lot of times you can't rely on white-owned media, unfortunately, even if you want to. There are some that are out there that are good. Some independent alternative media outlets, white-owned alternative media outlets. Some of them are decent, some of them are good, and some of them actually do good investigative work. Okay, but a lot of them, just like this headline, not just with the last story that I just was talking about with the police corruption, but even this South Africa story. I was reading the headline and I saw the word seize, and I'm like, okay, hold on, let me pump my brakes. What South Africa is doing is reclaiming land that was stolen from them. So be very mindful of the wording of some of these outlets and some of these articles that you will read about this South Africa story. Be very, very mindful that they have a bias. Okay, so the title of the article that I'm reading from The Independent, it's a UK British platform, says South Africa votes to seize, quote unquote, land from white farmers without compensation. Bravo. I am so supportive of this. I'm glad they are doing it. Let me read. I have a few articles here. I'm not gonna, like I always do, I'm not going to read every part of the article. These articles aren't nearly as long as the Buzzfeed article, but I'm still not going to read all of them because I just read enough just so you guys get the gist of what the story is about and get the gist of what the article is saying. If you want to read more, you can definitely click on the links, like I said, in the description box of the YouTube video. So South Africa's parliament has passed a motion to seize land, there's that word again, from white farmers without paying them compensation. And they shouldn't. That's harsh, but they really shouldn't, because they shouldn't have the land to begin with. Passed by an overwhelming majority of 241 votes to 83 votes against, so 241 votes for, 83 against. The proposal to amend Section 25 of the Constitution would allow expropriation of land without any financial recompense. It was put forward by the radical left economic freedom fighters, EFF, the EFF party, whose leader, Julius Malema, who that picture you see in this video of the guy, let me pull it up. The guy with the, not the guy with the flag behind him, that's the new president. The guy with the flag behind him in the red tie, that's the new president. And then I have some pictures of the land, South Africa land. And then there's one last picture, I'm waiting for it to pop up. Yeah, the guy in the red beret, the red beret, the brother in the red beret. That's Malema. Okay, that's Julius Malema, or Malema. He said, quote, "We must ensure that we restore the dignity of our people without compensating the criminals who stole our land." I like this part of the EFF. Some people like to say, "Oh, you're being reverse racist." Not me, but well, they might say that about me too. But they say that about Malema, or they say that about the EFF. Because I did a little bit of research in preparing for this story. That's a leftist party, a socialist, Marxist. Matter of fact, let me pull up Wikipedia right quick. Hold on one second, family. I'm on a roll today. While I'm pulling up this information, if you are listening to this, share the video, like it, retweet it, get the word out. Let me see. EFF Wikipedia. Oh no, that's not what I want. Okay, so this was a group that was founded in 2013. This is some of their ideology. This is from Wikipedia. Marxist Leninism. They're anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist, pan-African. I like these guys. They're basically a revolutionary socialist party. Now, they don't have a majority of representation in South Africa's parliament, but they are, based on what I've read, they are the third largest party behind the ANC, the African National Congress. And what's the name of the other one? It's the ANC, and it's hold on one second. Yeah, it's the ANC and the DA, the Democratic Alliance, right? So you have the African National Congress, who they have the most seats. Okay, and then you have the Democratic Alliance. They have the second most seats. They have 89 seats. And then you have a bunch of like other what we in America would call third parties, but they have more of a multi-party system, it seems like, in South Africa, where you you can actually have representation from other parties, and other parties actually can make proposals. They seem like South Africans seem like they have a much more functional government than we do, but that's just my opinion coming from an outsider. Some people might view it differently. Who some South Africans might view things differently. So that I say that I might be speaking slightly in ignorance, but that's what they that's some of their ideology, and that's a little bit about how many seats they have, or at least their representation in South Africa's Congress. So hold on, let me X out of this. The ruling African National Congress amended but supported the motion. The party has promised reforms to address the racial disparities in land ownership, which persist more than 2 decades after the end of apartheid. So here's the problem. Apartheid ended over 2 decades ago, 20 years ago, over 20 years ago. And the end of apartheid was definitely a good thing. You know, you definitely wouldn't want the apartheid state, which the United States government supported at one point in time. And something else, the United States actually had Nelson Mandela on the terrorist watch list, the FBI, I think the FBI terrorist watch list. Barack Obama, to his credit, took him off that list in 2008 before Nelson Mandela died. But yes, the United States government actually had Nelson Mandela labeled a terrorist for a period of time. Just so people know. A lot of people don't know that. But even though apartheid is over, racial inequality is still heavy in that country. And this is something that people like Malema and some other groups in the country, some other proud black groups in the country, this is stuff that they talk about. And they try to, at least in the West, in the United States, they try to make it seem like it's like some sort of paradise. I covered this story a little while ago, not too long ago, about Nkosinathi and Como, the inventor, the brother who invented that system, I can't think of the actual name of what he called the system, but it was something to address. It was a piece of technology to address the water crisis over there in South Africa. So South Africa is going through a major water crisis right now. They might be approaching day zero, if day zero hasn't come already. I don't have the actual date right in front of me, but he had something that would help out with regards to that. And he just died. Like, somebody threw him off of a building. They tried to say he committed suicide, but I don't know how many people actually believe that. So I covered that story, I want to say, a few weeks ago. And a little while later, a white engineer came forward with a very similar, some people say the exact same invention. And and Como isn't being given credit for that. And they're trying to say that he didn't have anything to do with it, but that's just a very weird story, and I don't know if there's been an update in that story either. But yeah, so there's still a lot of weird things going on in South Africa, in terms of race. Less than 10% of the population owns land, and of the landowners, they are overwhelmingly white. So a lot of people like Malema, they openly acknowledge that they're still a conquered nation, even though apartheid is over. South Africa's new president, Cyril Ramaphosa, that's the guy that I was mentioning a second ago in the video. If you're watching the video, it's the guy with the red tie and the flag, the South African flag in the background. That's the new president. Said he would speed up the transfer of land from white to black owners after his inauguration 2 weeks ago. So this guy, he sounds like he's trying to do the right thing, but I don't know enough about South African politics. If it's anything like American politics, politicians can say one thing and do another. So he might just be saying that, but we'll see what happens. But he stressed it must be conducted in a manner which preserved food production and security. I don't think there's anything controversial about that. So let me see if there's anything I want to read from the rest of this article. I'm just checking, I'm scanning the article to see if there's something else from this article. So no, so I'm good with this independent article right now. I want to get to some of the other articles about this same topic. But first, what I want to do is I'm gonna stop playing the music right quick. I'm gonna stop the music right quick because I want to play this audio. It's a few minutes long, and this is the statement that Malema gave in front of the South African Parliament not too long ago. Check this out. Let me turn up my volume, or the volume, the audio volume, so you guys hear this clearly. Let me turn this up. Okay, here we go. It's a few minutes long, but peep some of the things he says. And trust me, I've already listened to this, and nothing he says I disagree with. Just putting it out there. So I'm gonna play the video, and I will return afterwards.
So those who claim to be radical enough and who want radical change today should actually be in the forefront of agreeing that this constitution must be changed to make it possible for our people to own the land. It can't be correct that the less than 10% of the population owns almost more than 75% of the land. And those people who own the land happen to be, in an acceptable language, private people like individuals, trusts, and companies. But when you search deep as to who are these people, these are white people who are still owning our land. We remain a conquered nation, even when we claim to have democracy. We remain a conquered nation because white monopoly capital still owns the means of production, and at the center of that is the land question. The dominance of white people, it cannot go away, particularly white supremacy, for as long as land is not returned into the hands of the people. We are the only country where we say revolution has taken place, yet those who were oppressing us have not lost anything after the revolution. We remain as we were even before 1994. So we are saying that black people, all of us, we need to unite and amend the constitution so that we can expropriate land without compensation. There is no white person who will understand that clarion call because they don't know the pain of being landless. Only those who have gone through a passage of being landless will appreciate where we come from on the issue of the land. The issue of the land cannot be a campaigning issue. The issue of the land cannot be a rhetorical question. The issue of the land should be an issue of commitment. Honorable members, we have taken an oath here. And when we take an oath, we are simply saying we are loyal to the land. But how can we be loyal to the land which is in the hands of private individuals? We must be loyal to the land that belongs to us. Majority of our people say South Africa belongs to them, yet they do not have proof to show that indeed South Africa belongs to them, because many of them do not even know how a title deed looks like. Many generations died without even knowing how a title deed looks like. It is only through the expropriation of land without compensation that our people will be the rightful owners of this country. We cannot keep on saying South Africa belongs to all who live in it, yet we have nothing to show. Today the ANC should come with the EFF. There is 6% available. We give it to you without no condition to amend the constitution and take the land. If you don't agree with us today, it means you are disagreeing with Honorable Ayanda Dlodlo. If we don't agree with us today, it means you don't agree with your outgoing president on the issue of expropriation of land without compensation. Even the minister of land. This is a matter that can unite black people. This is a matter that all of us should stand together and isolate white monopoly capital. This is a matter that can say to us, this is a genuine call which we as black people can identify with. So the ANC 6% shiona relefayona arjel lefase relimeng arjel lefase rage di feme arjel lefase re fe batho ba rena ba bele magae ba bele a place to call home. Honorable Nzimande, we have already started taking the land. If you vote against this, it's a waste of time. We are already giving our people the land, and we are not ashamed of that. People of South Africa, where you see a beautiful land, take it, it belongs to you.
So, there you go. Now let me get my let me get the music back on. There you go. There you have it. Really, honestly, I get in the stream right here. I mean, I can't really follow that. I can't really follow that. That's their position. That's what they believe. That's what they want to achieve. So, who are the colonizers? I was about to say who are we, but I don't put me in the group that's against this. I'm not against it. So it's not a who are we issue. Who are the colonizers to tell them, you know, no, don't do that. No, you can't tell them what to do and what not to do. And it's their country. They have an overwhelming majority in that country. But as these situations usually go, the colonizers are gonna try. They are going to try. Where is this article that I'm looking for? Hold on one second. Okay, so I had something up a second ago. I don't know what happened to it. Hold on one second, family. Hold on one second. I'm still here. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So I hope a video doesn't play on too many of these websites. They love these auto start ads, man. Hold on, I hope one of these ads don't play. This mess is annoying. But anyway, if let me turn up my volume just in case, just so if I do hear something, I can stop. On Newsweek. So some people were making me aware of this when I was tweeting about this the other day. Yep, here we go. Video starting to play. Hold on. Let me stop this before it starts. Okay. Anyway, let me just continue. Somebody made me aware of this on Twitter. This is on Newsweek. Thousands signed petition asking Trump to let white farmers in South Africa migrate to the United States after country votes to force them off land. And that's not even the article I wanted, actually. That is the article I wanted, but that's not the article I was thinking about. I'm gonna get back to that in a second. Let me see. Great Britain intervene in South Africa. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So I was saying a second ago, the colonizers are gonna try. In Britain, you have some members of the British Parliament, or European Parliament, that's making the argument that Britain must intervene in the South Africa land debate. Really? Word? Or do we care about how the South Africans think about that, or no? Or the answer is no, because they're colonizers. So what more should we expect from them? So I'm not even gonna read this article. They're basically saying this is being done by a bunch of racist black South Africans, a bunch of radical Marxists, you know, the typical tropes that we hear leveled at the left and leveled at black people when black people stand up for ourselves. And they're trying to make the argument that, you know, people should go. I don't know what they are actually want done, to be honest with you, but we have to be very careful about this. More so the South Africans, because I'm not in South Africa right now. I'm in the United States. But the South Africans have to be very careful about this because you really can't put anything past the white supremacists. Okay, you have a bunch of white supremacists controlling the British government right now. And something like this, when it comes to protecting white people, even when it comes to colonizers, they don't really care about us. So you would never see them do anything like this for us. You would never see them intervene when something is happening to black people. But when it's them and when it's their own, we gotta intervene to stop this. Because in reality, what they want is they want to maintain the economic stranglehold on South Africa. Okay, and it's not just South Africa that has this dilemma, that has this problem. Okay, you have a lot of African countries that are independent on paper. Okay, but the resources they don't control. Okay, that's why like Wakanda, like Black Panther, that's why like the whole idea of Wakanda is so revolutionary, because the idea of an African country being dominant and controlling its own resources is unfortunately, it's a very radical revolutionary concept. It shouldn't be, but it is. Because all too often in reality, in the real world, not in comic book land, but in the real world, you know, that doesn't really happen as much. Not to say that there are no Africans anywhere on the continent that own African resources, but overwhelmingly you have case after case. If it's not the Chinese, okay, it's the Europeans, it's America, it's based a bunch of non-Africans controlling African land and resources. That's a problem. Okay, that is neo-colonial. Okay, so you have people in Europe trying to say that South Africa needs to intervene. They need to get involved and basically tell the South Africans what to do. If you read between the lines, because that's what this person's really saying. Okay, and a second ago, as I was saying a second ago, people have petitioned Trump to let white South African farmers into the United States. Now, what's funny, and other people have brought this up as well. I thought Africa was a shithole. What happened to that? So now we're talking about bringing in Africans when they're white. So all of a sudden, the white South Africans aren't shitholes, but the black ones are apparently. That's the message that's being sent. We want the white South Africans and any other white Africans. They would probably take white people from Zimbabwe too. We want the white ones. We don't want the black ones. People are so fake. People are so fake it's not even funny. But more than 12,000 people have signed a petition asking President Donald Trump to let white people in South Africa immigrate to the United States amid a vote by the country's parliament favoring a motion that could see South Africa's constitution amended to allow for land to be stripped away from from owners without compensation. Okay, so that's just repeating what we already knew. The online petition calls on Trump to, quote, take the steps necessary to initiate an emergency immigration plan allowing white Boers to come to the United States, end quote. Boer is the term used to describe South Africans of Dutch, German, or descent, who are also commonly referred to as Afrikaners. The petition also suggests that Trump should stop admitting refugees. Check this out. Listen to the racial politics here. And listen to the dripping of the racial language. The petition suggests that Trump should stop admitting refugees from Somalia and the Middle East, claiming they have, quote, cannot be properly vetted, end quote, and allow white South Africans into the country instead. So you know it was a bunch of white supremacists that got this petition together. We know that already. A similar petition calling on European Union President Jean-Claude Juncker, I hope I said that properly, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and British Prime Minister Theresa May to allow white South Africans into EU countries has gained nearly 17,000 signatures. Okay? So that's all I wanted to say about this story. I'm definitely going to stay up on this and everything else going on in South Africa. I want my South African brothers and sisters to stand strong. I hope you guys get your land back that you rightfully deserve. And whatever the colonizers do or try to do, you have people in the States who will support you. Just let that be known. You have people, outspoken people such as myself, and even people with larger followings and larger platforms than myself, who will support you. Okay? So, that's all I wanted to say about that. If you like this video, like the video, definitely. But share the video, retweet it, share it on Facebook, like it on YouTube. Follow me at www.blackintellectual.com. That is my blog. Okay, follow me on YouTube. Join my Facebook group. I'm gonna give the name of the group again for people who might have missed the beginning of the stream. The name of the group is Independent Black Media Think Tank. No More Colonizer Lies. Go ahead and join my group. Okay, this is just the beginning. Okay, I'm really animated today, but that's because I had 2 stories to talk about that I'm really passionate about. Okay, so that is all. I will be back Wednesday, not same time because I started at 11 today. I usually start at 12, so I will be back Wednesday, 12 p.m. Check me out. Okay, and I will see you then.